have to wait and see. Well, with me is Andrej Kravets. He's with the BBC's Russia service, and Fidelis Mbah from the BBC Africa service. Andrej, Fidelis, good to have you on the program. I'll start with you, Andrej. How do you think Russian fans would react to a manager who says, I'm a fascist, but not a racist?
Historically, the word fascist has very strong negative connotation in Russia because of World War II. And I think it's, I don't even see Di Canio, for instance, coaching a club in Russia because it's very, very strong. And he actually said that he expressed some interest in coaching in Russia, but honestly, I don't think it's happening. So I think a lot of people would be really, really angry if he was the coach of a team in Russia, as the 9th of May, when it's the national holiday in Russia at the end of World War II, is a big celebration, and that's why.
And it's because of that historical connection,
of course,
that they would be quite upset.
Fascist is a very strong word.
But he could get away with saying, I'm a racist.
It will be very strong as well, but to some extent, to say fascist is even stronger than to say racist.
Fidelis, isn't it ironic that Sunderland is a club which has Invest in Africa on its jersey? I mean, quite profound in terms of how Premier League clubs advertise themselves. Are any of your African viewers or listeners expressing any discomfort over the choice of Di Canio?
Well, the thing is, most of our, audience, what they've been bothered, what they're saying will bother them is actually if he either makes racist comments or takes an action that has some, form of connotation, towards racism. Maybe like now that Stefan Sessegnon is like the main midfielder of Sunderland. If he drops him, who is like the face of the Africans in Sunderland, if he drops him from the team,
people will read meaning into it.
People will read meanings into it. But as long as he's able to help Sunderland avoid the drop, and people will still see Invest in Africa on, on the jersey of Sunderland in the Premiership, I don't think people will be so bothered at this stage.
Let me just be brutal. Do a lot of, people in Africa, those who are following, the BBC website, how many really are Sunderland fans? And I apologize to any who are, but it does appear to me that, at least in Africa, it's either Chelsea or Manchester United or Arsenal or something. Is anyone paying attention to this story beyond the issue of Paulo Di Canio?
Yes, the thing is, because Sunderland signed the deal at the beginning of the season and they're wearing Invest in Africa, people tend to people are looking forward to their matches, trying to find out how they're faring. Are they going to stay up in the Premiership? And then there are links with the Nelson Mandela Foundation as well, which is also, an African thing. So to some extent, people just have, in quotes, sympathy for them, not really like they've got supporters in Africa.
Andrej, Storm and Teacup, what are your viewers and listeners expressing?
The story actually wasn't that popular at the moment in Russia. Some sports website actually reported that Di Canio is the manager, but it didn't get that much publicity at the moment. So Di Canio is quite famous in Russia because people follow Italian football and English football, and he played for Celtic and he played in West Ham. So he's a popular figure, but not a real football celebrity. So the story is not followed that much.
Let me quickly try and get this in before we wrap up. Is there much of an overlap between football and politics in Russia? And we'll talk about that in Africa.
There is a lot in terms of more when we talk about football supporters in Russia, because there were a lot of reports and still now a lot of them are racist chanting, and even footballers which come from Africa or South America, they actually express their anger that sometimes they are still being they show bananas at stadiums and so on. So obviously Russia, in the run-up to 2018, when it will be the World Cup in Russia, obviously the authorities want to stage it properly. And we all know that when it took place in Ukraine and Poland in 2012, there was a lot of reporting, especially a BBC Panorama program, about racism in football. So there will be a lot like that in Russia as well in the run-up to 2018.
Fidelis, would it be extraordinary for a coach in, say, Nigeria or Ghana, if you like, to express openly whatever their political views are?
Well, the thing is, sports, especially football, we've had figures, somebody, for instance, in Ivory Coast, where Didier Drogba, he's seen as a role model to so many young people. He's used his influence to, more like mediate when there's crisis in the country. If you come out and you express your political views, provided you're delivering on the pitch, all African fans are actually bothered about is what's the result at the end of the match, not really about your personal views.
And you think that's going to happen in the case of Di Canio, that the fans might give him a bit of a honeymoon to see how he delivers, because the club is very close to relegation?
Yeah, the thing is, I think the fans will be, at this stage, will be more bothered about Sunderland avoiding the drop and staying up in the Premiership, and then before they can, unless maybe he goes to the extreme and makes maybe any racist remarks, that's when people will really go hard at him.
All right, Andre Kravets and Fidel Simba, thank you very much for being with us.